So welcome to AI Automation. So in this video, I'm going to go ahead and show you one of the tiniest, most powerful image generation models that has just dropped. But this model, I've been hearing about it for quite some time, and there have been YouTubers that have been talking about it theoretically for the most part, but no one has really showed this in action. So first, I want to show you this model running, and then I'm going to show you how to install this on Windows, because there is no formal instruction for how to install this on Windows. We'll go through this step by step. The steps for this is, as usual, we'll find it in the description. Even if you don't want to watch the video, just copy and paste the steps and you should be good to go. But I do recommend that you watch the video before you start installing this. The other thing to bear in mind here is that you will need a GPU of some sort. So ideally an NVIDIA GPU. So I've got a 4060, but this will even work with 3060, I'm told, a 5060. And so any GPU you have, it should work with this if you have a Windows computer. So let me just go ahead and show you how good this really is. So I generated an image here of the Dubai skyline. Now, the imagery itself is not accurate. I can tell you that right off the bat. But if you go down, a lot of the imagery is very good. So this image over here is of a suburban house. This image over here is of an office. Now, there are some issues with the image, so you can tell right off the bat again. But this generates in just a matter of seconds, and I'll show you an example over here. So I'll do here is create a so now as soon as I hit generate, you'll count the seconds, all right? So I'm not going to skip through. I'm just going to let this run, and you can see just how fast this is. And I don't have the most powerful computer. I have like 16 gigabits of RAM, an 8 gigabit graphics card, which is a 4060. I also have just an i5 on this computer. So I don't have a lot of RAM. I don't have a very powerful computer. And this is an i5 11th gen. So it's not even this year's computer. And there you go. It's gone out, it generated this image. And you can see the quality of this image is really, really good. It looks almost realistic. Most people will think it's realistic, and but you can see over here that the resolution this is poster size resolution. So it's the highest resolution that you can create. So the lower resolutions are even faster. So if you want quick, you can do any one of these, and these generate within a few seconds. So let's give this a try. Let's give this quick a try with the same prompt. There you go. So it's a low resolution image, but you can it's just as good. But there are some issues with the image. And if you zoom in, you can tell that there are issues with the image. But overall, this took a few seconds. And this is great for a model that just runs within a few seconds, and it generates an image within a few seconds. So there are a few things you need to do just to start running the model on your computer. First things first, you'll go to Hugging Face over here, and this is where you will find the model. It talks about what the model is. It uses what's called a ternary, I think it's called, model. So this is around, if you install this on your Mac, this is going to be around 32 gigabits. If you're not installing this on your Mac, it's probably going to be more. But some of the advantages, and I Googled this, of this ternary model, which if you look over here, it says Bonsai ternary over here. Some of the advantages of this, apart from all the technical specifications, is that it's reduced memory footprint. So I can literally run this on an 8 gigabit graphics card, and it doesn't even bog my system down. And it's high speed, so it generates real fast, because unlike the 16-bit or the 8-bit models, it's not chunky. It doesn't have to go through the whole processing, is what I'm told. And then it's also more energy efficient. So this is going to be, for some types of work, this is going to be the future of AI. And because this runs locally, and it runs very well. Okay. So to install this, so over here, the instructions on Hugging Face is mainly for Apple. So all of the instructions over here is for Apple, but you can read about the transformers. So the transformers for Klein, 4 billion is 7.75 1.5 gigabits under a gigabit. So it's a reduction of 88%. This is the MLX 1-bit diffusion transformer, which is under a gigabit. Complex text encoder is 2.28 gigabits. So when I install this on Windows, so over here it says total payload is 3.42 gigabits. For me, it was a little higher because some of the dependencies had to be downloaded. So for me, it was around 6 gigabits, give or take, I would say. And this is the installation on iOS. So the instructions are pretty clear for iOS over here. And if you want to get started on iOS, you can follow these instructions. These are some of the benchmarks for the 4 billion model. And these are some of the use cases over here, some limitations, but there's no information about how to install this on your Windows computer. So that is why I made this video. Okay, so installing this on Windows will require first downloading the GitHub repository. So what you'll do is you'll go to git clone and then https github.com Prism ML English. So the whole prompt is over here. You can see the prompt. And then once the GitHub demo has been downloaded, you go ahead and you do a cd Bonsai-Image-Demo. And once you do that, it will take you into the directory of the image. Now this does take some time to download. So in my case, it took me around an hour to download and install. And it usually does this in pieces. So you might have to wait a while and just make sure that your computer you don't need to use your computer within the next hour or so. The next thing you'll do is you'll need to allow script execution. So if you've not allowed script execution, you'll need to run the command set execution policy scope current user and remote sign, and you copy and paste this. For me, I didn't have to do it. I did it, but it didn't take long. But if you have not done it, or this is the first time, it takes a few minutes, and then you wouldn't see anything. It will just be a blank, and then you'll go from there. The next thing you'll do is you'll run the setup script, and this will automatically create a Python virtual environment and install all the necessary dependencies, including the GemLite kernels. Now, the GemLite kernels are important, and so are the transformers required to run this on an NVIDIA GPU, which is another 2.5 gigabits. So that also took a while. So you'll run the command is settings execution policy scope and current user and remote sign. This again takes a few more minutes to run, and once you've completed this, the next one is to run the setup. So you'll do a /setup.ps1, and this will get the setup running. Then after that, you will have to download the 1-bit binary model. So by default, the script downloads the slightly larger ternary variant. So if you want to force it to download the 1-bit binary model, you can set the environment variable first, so you can run this command, which is bonsai variable binary. Then set the script over here. Again, this is in the description of the video. And then once that's completed, you will run the server. So you have to start the server up. So you'll do a /scripts serve the ps1, and then you go ahead and run that. And then this takes a few seconds, and then you'll see the message where it says, once the server finishes spinning, it will provide a localhost URL, and then you'll just copy and paste the localhost URL, and that will take you to what I show you at the beginning of the video. And some of the best practices you want to keep in mind while doing this is there are exactly 4 steps to this. So running more steps will not improve the image and might actually introduce more visual artifacts. So if you want to do like 50 steps, that doesn't necessarily improve things. Also, you want to leave the scale at 1.0 and shift at 3.0. Prompts, so use like natural language. Most people already know that. Just does that. The more description you add to it doesn't necessarily improve the overall output, but it does make sure that you're getting an image that you want. So also, finally, if you're on a Windows 11 machine and it has an AMD or an Intel GPU, you cannot use GemLite 1-bit model. So in my case, I not using the gemline model, as you already saw. So instead, you will have to use the standard FP16 unpacked version, which is again a little larger, but that's not necessarily a deal breaker. It does work very well. So the 1-bit model is that instead you will have to use the standard FP16 unpacked version. It's not necessarily a deal breaker. And then using the standard Hugging Face diffusers library. So those are something that's going to be different on your Windows computer. And note that running the unpacked version sacrifices around 8.3x of your memory, so it's not as memory efficient. So it also reduces speed slightly, but again, the overall output is pretty darn good, so it's not necessarily a deal breaker. And if you have a graphics card, it doesn't really put much stress on your memory or your RAM for that matter. The one final thing I'll just add here is that if you have a question or you have a problem running this, just feel free to reach out in the comments. I try to answer all comments, but sometimes I do miss something. I do get busy, but if I don't respond to you, just leave me a reminder and I will try to answer your question if I can answer it. I hope you guys liked the video or to learn something. Like or subscribe as always, and I'll see you in the next video.